So, he stood on stage in Michigan and stared out at the crowd like he always did, chin lifted, hand out, soaking in the roar like it was oxygen. But then he paused. The words didn't come. And when they did, they came out like this. Our founding fathers, they tremendous men, okay, but what are we even doing now? With the thing, the whole founding thing. People clapped anyway. He smiled, but his eyes were scanning, like maybe he forgot where he was, or who he was talking to. 2 hours later, backstage, someone handed him briefing notes. He looked at the top line. Obama Presidential Library funding request. He scoffed, leaned forward, and said it loud enough for the cameras to pick up. Who even is Obama? No one laughed, not even his team. The meltdown had been happening for months, maybe longer, but lately it had a rhythm, a tour schedule. One stop in Nevada he called the Pledge of Allegiance, a little song they make kids do. In Florida, he warned that the Declaration of Independence might be fake. At CPAC, he shouted for someone to lock up the Constitution because it keeps leaking. And in Washington, during a closed-door session, someone finally asked the question. Mr. President, do you still uphold the Constitution? He blinked, tilted his head, grinned, and said, Do I have to? No one moved. Aides say it wasn't the first time, that the Constitution gaffe had become a kind of running bit behind closed doors, except it wasn't always clear he was joking. This is the man currently running America. His staff call it looping, when he repeats a phrase, or freezes, or forgets what the rally is about. In Arizona, he opened with, We're here in Michigan, then corrected himself, only to thank Iowa 3 minutes later. At one event, he forgot Mike Pence's name. At another, he introduced J.D. Vance as our Secretary of Fences, which isn't a real position. Not yet. Behind the curtain, advisors started using a new phrase. We're in amendment territory, meaning the 25th, meaning removal, meaning someone has to decide whether a man who forgot the Constitution is still fit to lead. He's called teleprompters traitors. He's referred to Joe Biden as the guy I beat in 2016 and again in 2018, and one more time after that. In private, one aide says he asked, Is Hillary still around? Should I be worried? They've tried testing him. At a cabinet meeting, someone asked him to name 3 amendments. He replied, Free speech, the gun one, and the one where I get to run again. When prompted for the 4th, he paused and said, I don't like that one. Sounds sneaky. Staff stopped trying after that. But then someone in the West Wing proposed a cognitive screening, just for optics. He agreed, sort of. They handed him a simple test. Draw a clock, identify a photo, state the year. He drew a stick figure on a golf cart and labeled it, Me. He looked at a photo of himself and said, Vice President Reagan. Asked the year, he said, Election. Then nodded, as if he'd nailed it. The Obama Library moment didn't help. He called it a propaganda building, claimed it was spying on my taxes, then suggested, we knock it down and put in a golf simulator. Then came the moment they tried to brief him on constitutional duties. That's when he said it. Do I have to? It wasn't a joke. It wasn't even angry. It was blank. Like someone asking if a phone charger is optional. That quote, Do I have to? Is now on t-shirts at rallies. His supporters think it's badass. His team thinks it's bad news. He's still holding rallies, still yelling about things that may or may not exist, still pointing to charts that don't move. In Iowa, he pointed at a blank screen for 12 seconds before saying, This is your brain on Obama. The crowd clapped. They always clap. And when he slurs, they chant louder. When he forgets a name, they fill it in. When he blinks like he's buffering, they chant, USA. It works. Until it doesn't. There's a folder in the White House. It's labeled Continuity. Inside are scenarios, contingencies. If he forgets the nuclear codes, if he misplaces the vice president, if he declares war on a state by accident. One page is titled, If he forgets the Constitution. It's mostly blank, because no one knows what happens next. When asked to clarify, he said, I know it. I know the Constitution. I was there. No one pressed further. Then, last week, he signed a stack of papers he thought were birthday cards. They were executive orders. One of them rewrote the 4th of July as Trump Day. In his words, makes it simpler. There's a new nickname inside the West Wing. They call him the Forgetter. Never to his face. But it's said. A security aide reported he once called the Bill of Rights the shopping list. Another overheard him in the residence saying, Did we finish the revolution yet? Then came the Truth Social post, supposed to be about infrastructure. It read, Construction is Constitution. The wall was the original amendment. I am the article. It stayed up for 8 hours. No one had the password to delete it. During a closed meeting with the Joint Chiefs, he told them, I'll allow war, but only if it's domestic. That's how we save shipping. No one knew what that meant. Now, staff are trained to fill in the blanks. When he says, the big, beautiful thing, they assume it's a policy. When he says, we'll bring it back, they pretend to know what it is. When he says, I'm still the guy, they nod like it's a full sentence. He once asked if the Constitution was on Netflix, then asked, Can we binge it before the midterms? Aides started holding meetings without him. Quiet ones. They called it Soft Landing Prep. One document was leaked. Soft Landing Protocol. Phase 1. Reassure public. Introduce replacement slowly. Phrase everything as resting. They even tested language. He's fine, he's just taking a leadership pause. Or, he's very active, on the spiritual level. Melania reportedly staged a family sit-down. Eric brought flashcards. Barron brought headphones. Trump called them the Constitution kids. Then said, Barron knows the 5th better than I do. Maybe let him run. Media outlets began to notice. MSNBC ran a supercut titled, Forgot the Constitution. Fox News offered a different theory. He's being ironic. Congress got louder. One Democrat asked, if the man can't remember what branch he's in, should he be running it? A Republican shot back, he's just expressive. Trump responded from a golf cart, we don't need 3 branches, one's fine, I'm fast. He ended the last press briefing by saying, I'm still the guy. Okay, I'm still the guy. And maybe he is, just not the guy anyone remembers. This is the irony, and that's the irony. So, disclaimer. This video is a work of satire and fiction. It is intended for entertainment purposes only and should not be interpreted as fact, news, or a representation of real events. Any similarities to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental.